As the investigation into it all continues, it's forcing many local venues to rethink the way they handle safety and security. Bree Buckley is following that story for us tonight, and Bree, business owners are simply trying to prevent something like that from happening here. Columbus police investigating a violent attack this morning near the OSU campus. 3 people were robbed at gunpoint. Investigators are trying to gather evidence and track down the suspect. This as the university tries to step up security in that area to keep students safe. In the football fever, a huge weekend for the Buckeyes after a huge win against Nebraska Saturday. The team is already gearing up for a showdown with Purdue next week. Tonight, Clay Hall with a bit of insight on this weekend's big win. All right, thank you, sir. Great start as always. Rodney Dunigan here in studio with former Buckeyes Justin Zwick and Jeff Hireman. Big news there from Clay, the Buckeye offense without Garrett Wilson today. So far this season, Wilson has 43 catches for 687 yards and 6 touchdowns. Now he leads the team in receptions and receiving yards. Chris Olave has 9 touchdowns. Justin, let's start with you on this one. What sort of impact do you think not having Wilson will have on this offense? And of course, we'll have much more on Nebraska coming up in the next half hour. But first, let's send things over to Ben and Jay for more on Ohio State's defense. Guys, take it away. Thank you, Ben. Well, it's the biggest storyline in college football right now. We're talking about the first playoff rankings. When we come back, we'll break it all down and discuss some of the more controversial issues. And we'll head back out to Memorial Stadium in Nebraska. Clay Hall will have much more from Obi Stillwell and Brian Hartline. Plus, he takes us behind enemy lines. So stick around. This is the Football Fever. The first college football playoff rankings, things are not heating up just yet. No surprise in this one. Georgia is in at number 1 despite having a loss. Alabama, of course, is in at number 2. Michigan State is off to their biggest season probably ever after that win against Michigan. They are in at number 3. Oregon is in at the number 4 spot right now, just ahead of Ohio State. And the first team outside, of course, at number 5. And Cincinnati rounds out the top 6 in the first rankings. Okay, now there's a lot to unpack there. Jay, of course, let's start with you on this one. Do you have any problem with where Ohio State is ranked in this first poll?
Yeah, great question. It'll take care of itself, guys.
And Jeff, I have to ask you this. The one thing that we can see from the rankings is it's pretty simple for Ohio State. Win out, which would include a win over Michigan State, and the Buckeyes would take the Spartans spot in that top 4. So the roadmap to the playoffs seems pretty clear at this point.
Good story.
And, of course, it's kind of hard to argue with Georgia at number 1, but the controversy starts in that number 2 spot. Justin, this one is for you. Alabama has 1 loss to Texas A&M, their best wins against Ole Miss and Mississippi State. The committee has the Bulldogs at 17, even though they aren't ranked in either poll. And there are 4 teams in the top 10 of the rankings who are undefeated, and 2 of them have wins over the other top 10 teams. So it seems pretty hard to justify that Alabama should be ahead of all of those teams.
Yes and no.
Thank you, fellas. Great insight as always. Let's toss things back out to Clay in Lincoln, Nebraska. And Clay, all the excitement there seems like folks are pretty pumped for this one already.
Oh, no question about that. In fact,
welcome back to the Football Fever. Time now for the G&J Pepsi Fantastic Photo. Deborah says her daughter is ready for the game here. And with the bling on the blocko there on her coat, you can see she certainly is. Keep sending us your game day pictures, and you could just see them right here on air next week. All right, this former Buckeye doesn't need the fancy bling to get him noticed. In fact, he's used to taking out the trash on and off the field. This morning, Maria Durant is catching up with former Buckeye Zach Boren on his memories playing Nebraska.
Well, that's right. Well, Rodney.
All right, time now for the Kimba Financial Credit Union matchup of the week. The Nebraska Cornhuskers have a long and storied history in college football. But again, we're talking history and not the present. Let's keep it real. This program has definitely fallen on hard times. Now, when head coach and former Nebraska quarterback Scott Frost took over just a few years ago, he was supposed to help get things back on track. That has not happened, but a win over OSU today could keep fans and the university's boosters off of his back. Throughout the day, a series of events are being held at the National Veterans Memorial downtown to honor and to celebrate the nation's veterans. Sierra Lucas is following that story for us this afternoon. And Sierra, certainly a very special day for a lot of folks down there. Also following breaking news just into the newsroom this afternoon, we're learning that the search for a missing man in Nelsonville has come to a tragic end. Investigators discovering human remains. They've also made an arrest in connection with this case. Jackie Roscoe is live in the newsroom with the breaking information that police have just released. Jackie, a major alert from the Department of Homeland Security. This afternoon, the department says there's a higher risk of an attack in the U.S. this holiday season. The new warning indicates groups right here in the U.S. could be inspired by other incidents that have happened overseas. At this point, though, there is no clear threat. For the family of Nazir Winton, the pain of his murder is still fresh. They describe him as a caring father and a bright young man. They can't understand who would do something like this and why.
I don't even know how to put that into words on how painful it is to have somebody else rip your child from you.
For Candace Arline, the past few days can only be described as devastating.
It's a different type of pain. It's like, it's a void that can't be filled.
Sunday night, her 21-year-old son, Nazir Winton, shot and killed here along Rabbit Hill Lane. Tonight, that shooter still on the loose. The family with one question: why?
It just doesn't make sense to me.
Winton was the father of a 1-year-old little girl and a baby boy born just 2 months ago. The family has set up a GoFundMe to help pay for funeral expenses, set to lay a young man to rest who still had so much more life to live.
I don't wish this pain on my worst enemy.
Tonight, the family is urging anyone with information to come forward. They're hopeful that they will get the answers that they need and justice for this unthinkable loss. Rodney Dunigan reporting. Local community activists say they've heard far too many stories of young lives snatched in an instant. Many are saying enough is enough and are stepping up to help, hopefully making a difference in the community.
Knowing that another child is out here fatherless is heartbreaking.
For Jacqueline Cashmere, the mission is a personal one. One of the leaders of the group Mothers of Murdered Columbus Children, she knows firsthand the pain violence can have on a family and an entire community.
This is a pain that nobody wants, especially a mother. My son left 2 kids of his own, and it's hard for me to even see them, knowing the pain that they go through.
The latest case to catch her attention, the weekend murder of 21-year-old father of 2, Nazir Winton, gunned down just steps from his southeast side home.
What can be done? And I'm going to say this till I'm blue in my face. We have to check our kids. We have to check on the progress of our kids. We have to know what our kids are into. And when I say kids, I don't mean 18 and under. I mean, if you bore a child, that's your kid. And you need to check on your kid. You need to be in your child's life. You need to understand what your child does. You need to understand who your child is around.
Cashmere says her heart breaks every time another young life is cut short. Not long before Winton was shot, she and her group were hosting an event aimed at getting kids off the streets and out of dangerous situations.
Our children need to be taught a momentary action has a lifetime of consequences.
Community activists say it's going to take a real community approach to deal with these issues of violence in the community, working with police, speaking up to address issues of crime in their neighborhoods, hopefully doing all they can to save lives. Rodney Dunigan reporting. Men here in Linden say they're determined to turn things around in this community. For them, that starts with the kids in these neighborhoods, giving them the support and mentorship they need to keep their lives on the right track.
We want to corral the brothers together to start engaging the community more. We want to surround our schools, our rec centers, parks, community events with that hedge of protection and love.
For Ralph Carter, it's a mission and a fight he attacks daily, pushing to truly make an impact in the lives of youngsters in this community.
There's a lot of brothers in the community that do care, and we just want to get them out and get them involved.
Carter and others here fed up with the crime, fed up with the violence, now stepping up, speaking out, working to spark change.
Having that person to lean on, having that brother to lean on, just talk to, because you never know what a child is going through.
Carter, along with his We Are Linden group, gathering men in the community to lead the charge, serving as mentors and father figures to kids here who need someone to lean on.
Yes, it can be life-changing and life-saving.
This group of men looking to lead the charge of change in this community will be meeting here at St. Stephen's Community House Saturday afternoon. Their plan is to patrol the streets and work with kids in this community, hoping to put an end to the violence. They believe their voices are needed now more than ever. Rodney Dunigan reporting.
They're one step closer to getting back on track.
Just days ago, Brianna Clifton had no idea where she, her husband, and 3-month-old baby girl would lay their heads. We told their heartbreaking story, and many of you reached out to help.
I was caught by surprise because I didn't really think too many people would really help.
Brianna Clifton breathing a sigh of relief, thankful for an outpouring of support for her family.
I tried to reach out for help by myself, and I just didn't know which way to go.
A few weeks back, a massive fire here at the Village Court Apartments impacted nearly 40 families, many in a tough spot. Clifton, her husband, and 3-month-old baby girl were living out of a car.
Just knowing that we'll be able to have somewhere warm to go, for the baby. We'll be able to, get some rest.
After we told their story, countless viewers contacted us asking how they could help. One donor even setting the family up in a hotel. Others trying to gather needed clothing and supplies for the family. Clifton overwhelmed by it all.
I was so close to losing hope, but just trying to remain positive. And so when I got the contact back from you, I was just like, okay, great, someone's listening.
This family still has a long way to go after losing everything in that fire. However, they're confident, thanks to the help they're now receiving, they'll be back on their feet soon. On the north side, Rodney Dunigan reporting.
We are live at Easton tonight. The grand illumination happens at 7 o'clock. 2 million lights will come on all at the same time. But before we get there are lots of folks you need to meet. Jen, introduce us to who you have here.
Yes, and Marshall, I want you to meet Elfie.
And Elfie's going to help at the North Pole.
Elfie joined our team back in 2019, and we're thrilled to have them.
Yes.
And of course, we have Rudolph here.
Rudolph.
Straight from the North Pole, and our own superhero, Easton Man. Couldn't miss this night.
So it is going to be a big night here at Easton. Let's talk some weather real quick. Let me tell you about...
Days ago, Brianna Clifton had no idea where she, her husband, and 3-month-old baby girl would lay their heads. We told their heartbreaking story, and many of you reached out to help.
I was caught by surprise because I didn't really think too many people would really help.
Brianna Clifton breathing a sigh of relief, thankful for an outpouring of support for her family.
I tried to reach out for help by myself, and I just didn't know which way to go.
A few weeks back, a massive fire here at the Village Court Apartments impacted nearly 40 families, many in a tough spot. Clifton, her husband, and 3-month-old baby girl were living out of a car.
Just knowing that we'll be able to have somewhere warm to go, for the baby. We'll be able to, get some rest.
After we told their story, countless viewers contacted us asking how they could help. One donor even setting the family up in a hotel. Others trying to gather needed clothing and supplies for the family. Clifton overwhelmed by it all.
I was so close to losing hope, but just trying to remain positive. And so when I got the contact back from you, I was just like, okay, great, someone's listening.
This family still has a long way to go after losing everything in that fire. However, they're confident, thanks to the help they're now receiving, they'll be back on their feet soon. On the north side, Rodney Dunigan reports.